Hi everyone, Shweta back here with this week's video. In case you haven't met me before, I am an ESL coach and I help healthcare professionals who work in clinical jobs, such as the ones that involve working closely with patients and clients, improve their communication skills in order to build better relationships with their colleagues and clients, as well as really get the satisfaction out of the job that they're doing. So today's mini lesson is going to be about the concept of saying no. So this is going to be broken down into two segments. So this after this week's segment, there'll be another segment next week. Today I wanted to focus on what drives you to hesitate when it comes to saying no in the workplace specifically. Now, there's a very infamous saying that's been around for a very long time that no is a full sentence or a complete sentence. Now, that may sound good in theory, but in reality, it's much harder to do. And the reason for that is because the word no has these connotations or implications that is associated with very heavy baggage. And there's a lot of negativity around the word no, because let's face it, the immediate correlation between no and negative is very closely linked. So I wanted to focus on imagining yourself in a scenario at work when you are asked to do something, or you are given a task, or you are expected to do some sort of a duty. And for whatever reason, you are not able to do it, or you're not willing to do it, whatever the reason may be. And it's not required of you to give an immediate response, but there is time given to you to think through whether to say no or yes or take on what's been requested of you. Now, in this situation, you do have the advantage of not expecting to give an immediate answer, so you can actually spend a bit of time just reflecting on whether you should take it up or not. And if you're leaning more towards no, there are four things that I would like you to focus on behind what is it that's driving you to hesitate in saying no. So, in other words, why are you not able to say no in this situation? So the first factor is it to do with how you were brought up? So this could be in the family environment, in the culture that you were brought up in, your childhood, where the word no, whether in any situation, if you were to say no to anything, that was frowned upon. And as a child, if you even attempted to say no, it was dismissed and shunned by your family members or your friends or anybody. And this is in particular if you're trying to say no to authority figures, so your teachers or older people in your family, such as your parents, grandparents, aunties, and uncles. And in particular, as a woman or certain genders, is it harder for them to say no? And is it also more stigmatized to say no? So, is your background and your childhood playing a part in you hesitating to say no? That's the first factor. Now, the second factor is what are the consequences on others if you say no in whatever situation it is? So, how is you saying no going to affect your patients, your clients, your colleagues, your boss, your team? How are they going to be impacted in the event that you say no? Because in a work situation, what can happen is if you say no, the pressure, you sort of end up pressuring or burdening them with your responsibilities. They have to find someone to fill in for you or replace you. And also the people who are already there, they have to take on extra work because you're not in a position to do it. And also, how will you be perceived by your team members and your colleagues, your patients and clients if you ever say no to them in any situation? So the consequences on others, or the impact on others if you choose to say no, that's the second factor. The third factor is how is not saying no making you feel? So, in other words, the consequences on you for not saying no. What are those things? So, in other words, if you choose not to say no, how is that going to impact you, your time, your energy, your mental health, your well being, and whether these tasks, this duty, this action that you're taking on, is it in alignment with your goals, values, and beliefs? So you have to put yourself in the spotlight and think about, okay, if I don't say no, what's going to happen to me in the long run? And finally, fourth one is, are you aware of how to effectively say no in a way that doesn't cause anyone to get offended or cause any form of conflict or confrontation. Now, this is something that I personally struggle with myself. So, even though I'd like to think of myself as a very assertive person, there are some situations where I really struggle to say no because I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want them to feel like I don't want to help them. I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want to create any sort of conflict or drama in that situation. So, but if I say no in a more effective way, it might make the other person see where I'm coming from. So, are you aware of how to effectively say no so that you are taken seriously, you're respected, and no one gets upset in the situation? So that was part one. Next week, in next week's video, we will look at how to effectively, following on from today, how to effectively say no in a workplace situation. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next week.